It was like a lot of dilemma, what I wanted to do versus what I believed in.
Yeah. Why vegetarianism is such a big part of Jainism.
But Jainism and veganism is just same concept, just years apart. I made fun of every vegan I knew. I didn't know anything about veganism.
Welcome to the other side.
I know. When I first went vegan, it was meant to be for like a month. The dairy was obviously the biggest thing I had to let go of.
Was that easy?
No. I used to love paneer. That was my nickname in high school. I was like, tomorrow's my birthday. Tonight is the last non-vegan meal I eat. Also, paneer has no iron. Tofu has 50%. This is why I decided to be the Tofu King and not the Paneer King.
Let's unpack the Tofu King. Why did you give yourself that title?
My first ever viral recipe was McSpicy tofu burger. Let's make tofu sexy in 2024.
Hi Priyansh, welcome to Sustainable Tea with Shreya. Thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've followed your journey. You were at COP28. That's when I tried your food, the brunch food truck for the first time. And obviously I've been hooked since. I went every single day.
No way.
To the brunch food truck.
No
you
way.
had this, I remember you had this tofu naan taco.
Yeah.
And I think that was my lunch, that was my dinner. And I kept going back. I went there for
Thank you
like 6
so
days
much.
in a row.
Thank you for giving us all that business. I appreciate
Incredible.
it.
You definitely made a lot of money through me. I promise you that. But that was super cool. I know you're this incredible vegan chef, low waste vegan chef. Even you promote sustainable ways of cooking food, using leftovers, having minimal waste as much as possible while you're cooking.
Yeah.
And you're a content creator.
Yes.
Tell me how all of this started.
Do you want the long version or the?
I mean, we're here to chat, so
Okay.
give me everything.
I mean, I've always cooked. I think I've grown up in a family where food was like how you share love. We've always had people come over and we make a lot of crazy things for any time we have guests over.
Yeah.
So cooking,
Hospitality
exactly,
is how
right?
we
Like
show.
food is
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
So cooking for other people was always, and I was always help out in the kitchen. So I always knew I could cook and that I enjoyed cooking, but I never thought of it as a career.
Okay.
I was really interested in the film space.
In the film space?
Yeah.
In
just
what way?
like the industry, like
Okay.
film.
You wanted
I
to
love
act or you wanted
movies.
to...
No, I knew I didn't have the face to be in front of the camera. So I was like, let me find a way to be behind the
Lies,
camera.
okay.
I was really interested in set design. And so I wanted to design sets for TV shows and movies.
That's so cool.
So
the creative aspect.
Yeah, exactly. I loved like, you know, when you watch iconic shows like Friends and things like that, you just, even if you're not watching the show, if someone shows you a picture of the set,
Yeah,
you would recognize it.
absolutely.
So I wanted to, you know, do stuff like that. I'd love
Yeah.
watching movies and breaking down like the lighting and the different colors used in different scenes and things like that. I was a bit of a nerd. Still am. And that made me pursue architecture with like a major in performance design. So I did a lot of like stage and theater.
Where do you draw inspiration from?
Especially during my architecture years, I was really interested in biomimicry.
Nature and
yeah,
design?
just like learning about how like different plants work and you know, they all have systems within themselves. A lot of them are really intricate. A lot of insects work in a different way, you know, they camouflage themselves and things like that. So a lot of the best architects, a lot of my favorite ones that I was really inspired by would use biomimicry to create form and function. And
How do you use biomimicry in design?
you use elements that nature uses within itself to solve environmental problems.
I think there's something about biomimicry being used in ventilation as well, right?
Yeah.
Open
So
spaces,
I mean, a lot
natural.
of, even if we go back to how like people lived in India a long time ago, I remember walking through the Agra Fort and I did like a guided tour.
Okay.
And they would explain the architecture of that place and how it was all so calculated. You know, they didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have all these things. They had this walkway to enter where footsteps would echo. So if anyone walked in, you could hear them walk in.
Yeah.
You know, so if anyone was going to attack you, you would know. You know, the same way they had like water running through different walls so that would act as the cooling agent and that water would heat up in the winter as well. So then this is like, they were already solving problems that we have now. You know, we have a lot of issues with ventilation, with blah, blah, which we're just putting a Band-Aid on by, hey, here's aircon, here's heaters, but not like, here's how the earth works. Let's figure it out together. You know, here's how this insect adapts to heat. Why can't we use similar materials that its body has, you know, that from nature to build something?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
So that was what I was really interested in.
Yeah.
But architecture in itself is a very wasteful profession.
Wasteful.
Yeah, because it's a lot of creation, right? And there's a lot of raw materials are used. A lot of buildings are made. How many buildings have apartments, offices that are just empty?
Yeah.
That are all still using electricity, that are all still using aircon, things like that. So there was like a lot of dilemma between what I wanted to do versus what I believed in.
Yeah. When did you see that the gap was increasing? Because you went in with this passion for architecture and then suddenly your heart was not in it anymore.
I think the more I worked in the industry, the more I realized that like to really change all the things here, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of years for me to really disrupt the way this thing's working now and somehow fix it.
What would your idea of that disruption look like?
I mean, it just meant that we wouldn't have to constantly create new things every time we wanted something. Or that we used existing things to solve problems. So like how many homeless people are there versus how many empty apartments are there? Can we not sort of work together and figure this out?
Yeah.
So,
we can if it was profitable for a lot of companies to
I know,
do that.
and then that was another thing. Is like how many times we had to look at profit over
doing good.
I
hate that they're mutually exclusive. I hate that you can't.
But they aren't. It's just that we've been taught to not question it. Because if someone asks you, well, if not like that, then how? And then before you can even start thinking, they're like, exactly, it doesn't exist. So that we're not even allowed to think of a world where profit isn't at the top of everything. We can make things work. Well, I mean, community.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we work together, right? Like when the going gets tough, we all come together. Yeah, we haven't many times, but we do. Naturally, human beings are communal. Yeah. We all want to support each other. We want to work with each other. But because of this sort of scarcity mindset that we have, that only some people get to be successful, some people get to be rich, we've felt the need to be like, I want to be that person. I don't care if this person is not.
You don't mind stepping on other people to get to where you want to be.
Exactly. Whereas there is no scarcity. There's enough for everyone. There's enough opportunity. There's enough success. There's enough money. There's enough food for everyone.
Yeah.
But if we feel the need to hoard fame, hoard success, hoard money, hoard resources, then that becomes the norm. And so when we get to a point where we're like, okay, I have all this, but this is how everyone else is keeping it, so I have to also keep it like that.
Yeah. Instead of sharing, instead of collaborating, instead of giving it away. I know there's spaces in Denmark where there are communal spaces that are growing, there are parks that are growing, where people get to, come together, food trucks, just really share the collective joy of coming together at the end of the day. Yeah.
So we as a society are losing third places. And third places, yeah. So they're just places where you just go that aren't work and that aren't home, and that's where you meet people. Usually it would be like a pub or.
For me, it's a mall, right?
That's but are you meeting people at a mall?
I think that's the first thing you would suggest if you want to meet up with somebody. Would be like, let's meet at the mall. Let's grab a coffee together. But this is about
meeting new people.
Yeah.
You see how like pubs and coffee shops were before. Where it was kind of, you just went there with a bunch of friends and you meet other people and you'd make more friends and that kind of became your spot.
Yeah.
How many times do you still have a spot? People go to mall with an intention.
That's true.
I need to go to this store. I need to go to this coffee shop. I need to go to this restaurant. But third places are just like no intention. You just go there.
What's the first place and the second place? Why is it called the third place?
I think it's like work and home.
Work and home.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure like first is home.
Yeah.
Second is work.
Some people it's the other way around.
I don't know. I actually, maybe it is the other way around. I don't really know. But I know that because I'm really, these past like couple months, I've been really interested in just figuring out third places because that is also amazing for kids. How many of us went to the same parking lot to play? Like I had this one parking lot where I went to play cricket and sometimes you'd play football and sometimes you'd cycle.
Yeah.
But you went there without an intention.
To just
You went
be-
there at 5 o'clock every day because you knew other people would be there.
Yeah, all your friends.
Yeah, that's it. What you did there,
Didn't matter.
but everything now is intentional. I will go to meet this person at this
Yeah.
coffee shop at this time because I had to do this thing after that.
I think our third place is the phone, right? That's where you
Yeah, that's
you swipe
exactly.
to meet
More and
new
more
people.
it's becoming our phones, but
And then you take that offline.
but that shouldn't be the third place because there's not a lot of engagement happening there.
I love that. I never thought about it that way. There was this space at COP28, if you remember, it was called the Extreme Hangout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where you'd go, no intention. Again, you
Exactly.
would just meet a lot of people, have a conversation, have a cup of coffee,
Yeah,
and it was just that. And I know it was so many people's safe space
exactly.
for those 12 days, right?
Yeah, and can you imagine that place for like years?
Yeah.
If that became a space where just people could just hang out. Even now, if you go to a coffee shop, you open a laptop. How many times are you starting conversations with other people
I think that'd be
that are
weird.
there? No, it would be weird. Yeah, you'd be like, who's this crazy person? Let me work.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are losing third places, and I think when we think of places like when you mentioned Denmark and things like that, we need to invest in creating more third places, and that's where you engage community.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, we're only meeting people that we want to meet,
that's true.
that we already know. We're not allowing ourselves to
Expand
Exactly.
circles and
exactly.
wow, that's really cool. What do you do next?
Food. I knew that like every time I would have a really bad presentation at university, I'd just come home and I'd just cook something and I'd just put something together
Yeah.
in like from the fridge. And all this in hindsight feels like, oh yeah, obviously he was going to be a chef, you know, like when you're like watching the movie of my life or something, you're like, yeah, this guy's cooking
You
all the
zoom out
time.
and
Obviously he's going to be a chef.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I was like, this is just something I do for fun.
Did people see that? Did people around you ever tell you should cook, you should take this more seriously, you should become
not a
chef?
not a single person
Really?
suggested it. I mean, I was that guy at university where if I went grocery shopping, I would just buy everything. And then I'd be like, oh, I have too many groceries. And I'll message a bunch of friends. I'm like, hey, dinner at mine. That's it. And then I just cook a bunch of things because I wanted to cook and I wouldn't cook for myself.
Yeah.
And so that way I'd get to try different things also.
Why didn't we go to the same university? I don't know. It's like, I hated cooking for myself. And then there's this guy that just cooks for everyone.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun all the time. But yeah, for me, it was just so much fun. I got to cook for people that I enjoyed having around. I got to eat what I wanted, and for me it was just stress relief.
Yeah. So again,
I
that sense of
enjoyed cooking.
community for you.
Yeah,
eating,
exactly.
That was community.
Exactly. I was vegetarian at the time. All my friends were non-vegetarian.
Have you always been vegetarian?
I was born vegetarian.
Okay.
So for me, it was also like showing them what vegetarian food is. Even though I was vegetarian, I was made fun of for not eating a chicken nugget, you know, at like kids' birthday parties when they were at like McDonald's or something.
Why were you made fun of?
Just because I didn't eat a chicken nugget, I guess.
Okay. So there was that even in kids.
That was always there. Yeah, it was always like, why aren't you just? Or people would, you know, want to share their lunch with me, and they're like, I'll just eat the chicken, you can eat the rest. And I'm like, that's not how it works.
You wouldn't have the gravy, like you would never just eat the gravy.
Mm-mm.
So there's always that disconnect.
Yeah, it was always like I knew that this was chicken. Like it didn't matter if the piece wasn't in it. It was.
So you
chicken.
were never tempted.
Not once.
So have you always been vegetarian for religious reasons? Were you born into a vegetarian family?
Yeah, I was born into a vegetarian family, a Jain family.
Okay, I'm Jain too.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, so I grew up with like every Saturday morning I'd go to Jain school. You know, like
You'd go to Jain school.
Pathshala it was called.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that as the kid.
So we'd all just sit there and I was the kid that the teachers liked but also didn't like because I'd just be like, I have a question. You know, I'd ask a lot of questions about like
why this and why that, and give me the scientific reason behind why.
Yeah, I didn't even care about the science. For me, it was just like, well, when you say this, it doesn't match with this. So then what? And then they liked it because I was engaged.
Yeah.
They also didn't like it because they had to figure out the answer. But then they'd come back the next week and they'd be like, this is why.
Oh, so they'd study it and they'd come back. And would that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you subscribe to? What about Jainism or teachings of Jainism did you subscribe to?
I mean, I really like the spirituality side of things. And in Jainism specifically, because I grew up like, when you're Jain, you're basically also Hindu. Like you grow up with all that religion, right? You grow up, you don't just grow up Jain.
Yeah.
So I had all of that to look at.
What do you mean all of that?
Like Hinduism as a religion, I had that to look at, and Jainism as well. And so, I mean, up until I was much older, I didn't even know that I wasn't Hindu. Like I always thought I was, like Jainism is Hinduism. I always thought that was one.
That's what I assumed for the longest time.
Yeah, again, I was embarrassingly old when I found out that that those are two different things. But again, it was like, and especially when you grow up in a place like Dubai, I was never made to feel like religions are different. Like I grew up celebrating everything. We have a Christmas tree in our house. We do Eid dinners with friends. We do Ramadan dinners with friends. Like we've celebrated every culture growing up because you live in such a multicultural community. Yeah. You have friends from everywhere. So for us, we were just like, this is this person's religion. This is this person's religion. There's nothing different about it. Right. We're all just
celebrating it.
Yeah. And we all get to be a part of different celebrations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not like this is what I have and this is the only thing I have. Now I have all these things. I get to celebrate with so many different people, with so many different things.
So it's expensive.
Exactly.
Celebrations were always expensive.
Exactly. And again, communal.
Yes.
Community at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right? When you're sitting at that table, whether you're celebrating Diwali or Christmas or Eid, you're all sitting around a table. You're all celebrating each other. You're celebrating life. You're enjoying great food. That across the board is there, no matter what we call it, no matter what we're wearing, right? And in most cases, you're wearing the same thing as well. So it is, I think we're more similar than we like to think.
Absolutely. I think we've highlighted the differences.
Yeah.
More than we need to.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, so I had all that to look at, and from the Jainism point of view, I think I really liked that a lot of it was science based. The things about like everything has life in it and everything is, like when you breathe, you're disturbing life around. When you do this, you're disturbing blah, blah. Yeah. So it was ahead of its time. I think if I would even if I like talk about, Jainism when I was a kid, people would think like you're crazy, like, what do you mean? Like when you speak, life dies. Like when you're speaking, there's like words coming out, spit coming out, air is being disturbed. A lot of our gurus wear
a mouth covering
exactly.
for that reason.
But now more and more as people are understanding how fragile the ecosystem is and that we're not just alone.
Would you like to explain why life dies when we speak?
I think it's just like the pressure, or I don't know. I think it's just air coming out. I don't know.
The Pathshala has left.
It's just left. I need to ask questions. Let me ask one of my teachers. I used to not like going to that class because it's Saturday morning. Like that's the last thing you want to do. But when you were there, you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would go for the kids that came with me.
I didn't even have any friends there. I was just the kid at the back of the class being like, "My teacher."
Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in all of that, I found things about it that I liked. And I think that is what I liked about growing up in a house where I wasn't forced the religion. They were like, you figure out what you want in this. Okay. And so
nothing was ever forced on you at all.
No, exactly. So they were like, this is the religion that we are. Yeah. We all do this. You want to be a part of it? Figure out what you want.
Did that make it easier?
Yeah, because it made me want to figure out why. Like which one, like, why would I choose this one? And it gave me the freedom to be like, do I want to continue on this? Because I know a lot of Jain friends who eat meat, who grew up, and
I know a lot of Jain people who also use leather.
Yeah.
Buy leather bags.
Exactly.
Belts, and there's still that disconnect between eating an animal and wearing an animal.
Exactly. And so because I had to go and do all that, like figuring out and thinking myself, I feel like I found my why rather than like, this is the right thing, rather than someone else telling me this is how you do it. Yeah. And I feel the same way with veganism is if the reason you've chosen it is strong enough, no matter what anyone will tell you, you're here. Yeah. Like I'm in it. When I first went vegan, it was meant to be for like a month.
How did that happen?
So there were fires in the Amazon rainforest in 2019 summer.
Yeah.
And
it was all over the news.
it was all over the news.
Yeah.
And the Amazon rainforest is a place I hold very close to my heart. Like I would have watched every documentary as a kid.
Why is that?
I
Why
just-
the particular interest in
I just,
Amazon?
I mean, as a kid, I watched a lot of National Geographic and I'd watch a lot of documentaries, and the Amazon just looked so intriguing. It just seemed like it was always, you know, the lungs of the earth, you know, and the more I would watch documentaries and videos of it, it would be like, this is amazing. Like these are animals I didn't even know existed. These are plants I didn't know existed.
Yeah. And there's so many that are still undiscovered. I
Exactly.
believe.
And you'd see the indigenous people talk about the land as if it's us.
Breathing. It's
Yeah,
alive.
as if it's breathing, it's alive, and it's one of us. It's something, the land is something we had to look after so that it looks after us.
Yeah.
That is a
I think
connection
that's
with
how it
land.
works. That's
How
the
it always should
reciprocity
have
with
worked. Yeah,
nature is,
exactly. And so that to me was so intriguing. I'd always wanted to go visit. I've always wanted to meet the indigenous people of you know, that land and talk to them and learn from them everything they know.
And they're the greatest stewards of nature. And
Exactly.
They know how to conserve, preserve
Exactly.
nature better than anyone else.
Exactly. And so yeah, that really affected me. And I did some research because in my head I was like, wait, wildfires shouldn't happen in a rainforest. That's not natural. So I looked it up, and it was the government at the time. Those fires were man-made to clear out land and to push out the indigenous people to use that land for cattle and agriculture.
Cattle grazing.
And I knew nothing about veganism at that point.
To grow.
Exactly.
Beef.
Yeah, beef, dairy,
Yeah.
all of the above. The beef bit didn't even affect me because I was like, I'm already vegetarian, right? But it was the fact that this was all contributing to, and like the dairy was obviously the biggest thing I had to let go of.
Yeah. Was that easy?
No. I used to love paneer. I was like, that was my nickname in high school. Like people would make fun of me for like my obsession
How much
with paneer.
you consume?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was unhealthy. Yeah, and then I didn't know anything about veganism. I made fun of every vegan I knew at that point.
You're one of those.
Yeah. And
Welcome to the other side.
I know. Karma. And yeah, overnight. It was overnight. I was like, tomorrow's my birthday. Tonight is the last non-vegan meal I eat. And
that was all because of the forest fires.
Yeah, I didn't watch a single documentary as well. I didn't know anything about veganism.
Wow.
But that's what I'm like. If your why is strong enough, you will never turn around. And then I started watching the documentaries because I was like, wait, I need to figure this
It's
out.
the other way around for you.
Yeah, because I would go to eat at place and I'm like, I don't even know if I can eat this. And even though I was born vegetarian, I was used to reading labels.
Yeah.
I knew how to find egg in a label. Like I was quick with it. And now I had to learn to find other ingredients, right? I had to learn to find like dairy, butter, blah, 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 milk powder, all these things. And you're like, why is there so much in this? So I'd watch all these documentaries, and the more I'd watch it, the stronger my why became. Because it was like, hey, it's not just environment, it's also health, it's also animals. It's all of this, right? Like it is contributing to everything. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
So
what was the relationship you found between the environment, health, and animals when it comes to veganism?
For myself?
Yeah.
I mean, I always understood the animal side of things growing up Jain. Like that was a big, we've been taught Ahimsa.
Yeah.
And that is non-violence, like a big thing in our religion. And I feel more and more that Jainism and veganism is just the same religion.
Principle.
It's the same concept, just years apart.
Yeah.
You know.
Which is why I don't know why vegetarianism is such a big part of Jainism. I always question that.
Right.
If I knew about this when I was growing up, I don't think I would have ever used leather. If you apply Ahimsa to everything else, you wouldn't use leather. You wouldn't buy crock bags. You wouldn't eat dairy, knowing what happens in dairy industry.
Yeah, I mean, again, because religion was like, it's a really old religion as well, and it was made in a time where we didn't have the things that we have now.
You mean the scale?
Yeah, the scale,
size,
exactly.
Population.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We didn't have to deal with all these things, right? Like how many people were wearing leather when Jainism was created?
I never thought about it that way.
And so it's our job to then evolve and then adapt to what we know. And so I feel like like going vegan brought me closer to Jainism than I was before going vegan. Because that to me was like, I found my wife with this religion, and now I've also found a way that works for me. And now I feel like what I believe in and what I've been taught to believe in is all kind of...
It's the same thing.
It's kind of like matching now.
Yeah.
So,
That's beautiful. You went from being an environmental vegan for the Amazon rainforest to being vegan for health, animals, all of the planet. Everything.
Yeah, it's all... I always say, and I've always said this on my account as well, like no matter which avenue you took to get to the point, everything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible bonus.
Yeah.
You know, whether you got there because of animal rights, then you get the health, you get the environment. Amazing. I don't think any one reason should be important.
Yeah.
I think all those reasons are great. And the fact that you got here is amazing.
Yeah.
But now you have 2 more reasons to solidify that reason.
That's true. So just to amplify that and make that stronger. And like you said, your why just grew bigger
Exactly.
and bigger. Letting go of paneer. What was that like?
It was tough. I still remember my last meal.
Do you remember the last time you had paneer?
Yeah, because it was my last meal. It was my last non-vegan meal.
Love that.
It was the night before my birthday. I took 3 friends with me there was this Indian Pakistani restaurant near my university.
Where was this?
Melbourne.
Okay.
So
that's where you were studying architecture.
That's where I was studying architecture. So we went there. I had dal makhani, I had palak paneer, and I had garlic naan.
Butter garlic naan.
Yes.
Palak paneer and dal makhani. Okay.
And paneer was like, again, I would like to think that was like the epitome of Indian cuisine.
Yeah. A lot of people still feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But I mean, I haven't seen people eat as much paneer, maybe because I'm not in those areas anymore. But even in my family, I haven't seen people eat as much paneer as they did before.
Yeah. You see a decline is what you're saying.
At least in my immediate circles, yeah.
Okay. That might be because of you, but...
Maybe. No, I don't think so. I wouldn't give myself that much credit. But I mean, and that left like a serious... I mean, even cheese was big for me.
Yeah.
I was one of those people that could smell the cheese and tell you what cheese it was.
What cheese it was.
Yeah, I was obsessed.
Yeah.
But again, cheese was tough for like the first week, and then it became easy.
You never went back. There was never a moment where...
No, not once.
You had another, just like 1 cube of paneer or like 1 slice of cheese. There was never...
Not once. I wasn't tempted.
No temptation whatsoever.
At all. Not once. Like, and I was really surprised as well, because I would have thought that it wouldn't be that difficult for me to give up.
So cold turkey. I mean, tofurkey.
Cold turkey. I like it. But that's when I found tofu, I guess, when all that was happening. So maybe that's why I wasn't tempted, because I just found, I mean, I'd always had tofu before, but if you eat paneer, then you're like, I don't need tofu. You know, you're like, I don't need that. Why do I need that?
Is that a good alternative according to you? Like, I
think it's a great alternative.
Fill that paneer?
It filled that hole. It filled the paneer-sized void. Yeah, for sure. It took some time for me to figure it out.
How did you figure it out?
Just like so much testing.
Okay.
Because I was like, I need this to work. This has to work. If this doesn't work, then...
So you're a Tofu Scientist, like you looked at like science project.
I had like
figure you out.
I definitely have a book somewhere where I've written down like different ways I've tried cooking tofu and like tested it.
99 failed experiments.
Yeah, exactly.
Worked. So what is the one experiment that worked?
As of like, I think last year, I started sharing boiling tofu.
Okay.
Which makes it a lot more like paneer than anything else. Because most people like will cook tofu and they're like, it tastes just like paneer. Usually it doesn't.
Yeah.
Tofu has a very distinct like briny flavor and has a very distinct texture that paneer doesn't have. But when you boil it, tofu becomes a bit more firm.
Okay.
And it removes that briny flavor. So now it's just a block of nothing with a better texture for you to now flavor it and add it to a really nice like gravy.
So that's the secret. Boiling tofu.
To make it like paneer, yeah.
Okay. So, and that filled the paneer size void in your life.
Exactly.
And how did you go from that to becoming a content creator and a chef?
Again, when we look at things in hindsight, we're like,
obviously meant to be.
Yeah, obviously it was going to do all this. I had that account, the brunch account.
What is brunch?
Brunch with Priyansh.
Okay.
And that was actually a joke account that we started in university. And it was just like, if you scroll all the way down, you'll still see photos of, it was just like me having brunch with people from university. That's it. They were on a brunch. That was what it was called.
Understood.
And then I came back to Dubai for a bit, and I put a photo up of like a dish I cooked, and that was the first time like I posted something on that account that wasn't from a restaurant. And my friends were like, "Wait, do you cook?" And I was like, "Yeah." And at this point, I was staying at like a college, so I wasn't cooking.
Yeah.
We had food available, so people didn't know I cooked, and that wasn't like a thing. And I was like, "Yeah, I can cook." And then I would post a smoothie. It's all still there. Like I haven't deleted anything.
Okay.
I post like a random smoothie.
Stalk you all.
Yeah. Or a random like, here's the dumplings, whatever. You know, it would just be
Food
random.
that you were cooking, like just veg food.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah.
At that point, it was vegan. Yeah, it became vegan. Yeah, so brunch started after I'd gone vegan.
Okay.
Because it was like a joke account for like, hey, what do you even eat? So I made that account.
And
I
what
would
do you
just
eat as a vegan?
Yeah, and I would just like, we had 40 followers. It was literally all my friends. And then other people started following me, and I was like, wait, why are you here? You know, like people I didn't know.
You didn't expect that?
No, it was just because, again, it was a joke account for my friends. Why are other people here? And then people would ask me questions about like cooking, and I'm like, okay, wait, I'm not that guy, but let me help you out.
Okay.
And I'd answer it, and then I'd be like, wait, what if other people have this question? So I started posting the answers to that question as like a recipe.
What would those questions be?
How do you cook tofu? How do you get enough protein? How do you get iron? How do you get B12? Blah, blah. Just random, like the same old that we all get. Yeah.
Vegan questions
Exactly.
that we get shot with.
So like, instead of answering it directly, I'd just be like, here's a recipe with good amount of iron, B12, blah, blah. That's naturally there.
Did you have to learn about nutrition? Did you have to go
I think
really
every vegan is like, is like low-key a nutritionist.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, I definitely had to learn a lot because you had to answer a lot of questions. When I first went vegan, I was the first person that anyone in my immediate family friend circle, I was the first person that they had heard of was vegan.
Did they take it well? Oh, was
they didn't take it poorly.
Okay.
But they didn't take it amazingly. Like they all thought it was a phase.
People still ask me, 8 years later, people ask me, are you still vegan? Like, you know, this is a lifelong thing. It's not something I'm going to give up.
Yeah. No, it was like I had to have a lot of difficult conversations at the start.
Like
they weren't that bad, but it was always like, you know, you look weak. And I would look like I'd been vegan for a week. Like, it's not, guys, it's fine. It's not that deep, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what do you even eat? Blah, blah. And it got to a point where I think a year after being vegan, I would go to any party and they would be like, oh, we have vegan options for you.
Oh, people started making space for
yeah,
you being
they'd be
vegan.
like, because they'd cater massive dinners and things like that. They're like, oh yeah, they have vegan cheese for you. I'd be like, for me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
You know, and so people were becoming mindful, and I was kind of that person that brought it to my immediate circle to be like, hey, this is what vegan food is, and this is what.
Same.
You
I
know?
think first time people heard about veganism in the small town that I come from was because of me. Like, what do you mean ghee nahi khai? You want to have ghee? You want to have paneer? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna eat?
Yeah, and milk. You're gonna say no to milk? Yeah.
You know?
So
your bones are gonna get weak. All
that's
that.
True.
Like, okay,
Look at me.
I'll take it.
When I get my blood test done, I think it's just like 100 and 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is.
So yeah, it was. But the more you answer questions, the more it pushes you to learn, and again, it strengthens your why.
Yeah.
If you can answer those questions, and if you are asked to go beyond your first why to look into this, then you're like, wait, actually, this makes sense. Now I have an answer to give this person.
So it's backed by facts as well.
Exactly. And now I know why I do it. Right? So it's not just a sacrifice I did for the environment. It is also...
It's for yourself. You did something good for your body. And
it's like everything is connected. So, yeah.
Was there any question you couldn't answer? Was there a question that was tough for you to figure out?
I don't know. I can't think of like...
So where do you get your protein from, Priyansh?
Tofu. I am a
how much
soy
protein?
boy through and through.
There are a lot of misconceptions around eating soy though, right? Like,
yes.
Do you want to dive into that?
I mean, the biggest thing is that soy has a lot of hormones.
A myth.
Yes, that's the biggest one we get a lot, right? But I mean, if we compare it to dairy milk, which is milk from a mother for its child, which one has more hormones? I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Seems obvious.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't know the exact numbers and things. Like, I know there are a lot of people that would know exact percentages of each thing and all the facts and statistics, but I know enough to still be a vegan today and to imagine that I would do this for the rest of my life.
How many years have you been vegan now?
4.
4 years?
Yeah, 4.5 now. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, we're keeping track of our anniversaries.
Yeah, because it was my vegan anniversary was my birthday.
That's true, but that's easy.
I know.
That's easy.
I cheated a little bit.
It's the same day. You get one gift for being vegan.
Well, I don't think I was getting a gift for being vegan, but
I mean, I think universal.
Life is the gift
Life
that
is
I get.
your health, your body. Look at your skin. There's like a nice little sheen glow.
Thank you.
No one's ever told you that.
No one actually.
My skin actually got better. I remember the first year that I went vegan. I had so much acne growing up. My gut health, my skin, hair, everything. I lost a lot of weight. So I saw that difference firsthand.
I didn't feel as much of a difference. But I did feel it. Like, for me, it wasn't, this is weird. For me, it wasn't like crazy, right? Like I woke up the next morning, I'm like, wow, I'm vegan.
New human being.
But I think
better than everyone
maybe
else.
It was the placebo of like my morals meeting my lifestyle, where I was like, I actually feel good. Like I imagine this to be so much worse.
So
this was meant to be a
aligned.
sacrifice, right? But why is it not feeling like sacrificial? Why does it not feel bad?
That's so interesting. Even the paneer, you were such a big fan of paneer, and to give that up, you still didn't feel like that was a sacrifice.
I mean, I did, but again, it was like my body didn't feel like how much paneer was I eating at university anyway, in Melbourne. Like, it was a very once in a while thing, right? So
your why was bigger than that cube of paneer, at that time.
Yeah.
How much protein does tofu have? One block of tofu have compared to the same block of paneer?
Okay, I have the receipts.
Facts. The receipts.
So paneer has 25 grams of protein, 100 grams of it, and tofu has 18 grams.
Okay.
But tofu is about a third of the calories.
So
you would end up eating
calories,
more.
almost similar amount of protein.
Yeah, not that far off. A paneer also has like 4 times the fat.
And the hormones.
That's not going to be on here. But also paneer has no iron.
And tofu does.
Tofu has 15%.
So I think tofu is winning this fight.
Tofu has 1. Oh my God. Calcium. Calcium, 31% of the daily required value is in paneer. 53% of the daily required value is in tofu. See, my why just got stronger. There's 0 fiber in paneer.
I see it. I see the fire.
2.3 grams in tofu. Guys, if I was going to stop going vegan, that's not happening anymore. There's 0 fiber in paneer, and in tofu there's 2.3 grams of fiber. So tofu is a lot more whole than paneer is.
So winning. So in the battle of tofu versus paneer, tofu's taken the trophy home.
Yeah, this is why I decided to be the Tofu King and not the Paneer King.
Let's unpack the Tofu King. You're a self-proclaimed Tofu King.
Yes.
Why did you give yourself that title?
It was actually, I just said it in a voiceover. I made a tofu gnocchi.
Okay.
So it's just pasta made out of just pasta, but I put tofu in it, like in the dough.
Okay.
As like the liquid.
What's the weirdest thing you've put tofu in?
I made a double tofu dumpling. So I made the wrapper out of tofu and dough. Like the dough had tofu in it.
Yeah.
And then the filling was
also tofu.
Yeah. So I might be
tofu.
I don't think I'm the Tofu King anymore. I might be like the Tofu Dictator at this point. The Tofu Tyrant. Yeah. Self-proclaimed. But yeah, I randomly said it in a video. And I was like, at this point, you should just call me the Tofu King. And everyone in the comments started being like, Tofu King, Tofu King. I was like, oh.
Look at this
I thought people would make fun of me. Yeah, I thought people would make fun of me. Like, look at him calling himself the Tofu King.
Yeah.
And then every tofu video after that, I was like, if you're new here, hi. I'm the self-proclaimed Tofu King.
Love that.
That's why I always say self-proclaim also, because I don't want to just claim it.
Yeah, I think you already
Forever.
have. You know, you're gonna.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I want to be there.
Will you sue somebody else if somebody else starts calling themselves like
I feel
Tofu
like
King?
I
Would you
really
sue
hope
them?
my the people following me do it for me. Like I just shouldn't have to do it.
So
You know?
there's an expectation of
You'd hope
somebody
so.
else being
Yeah.
sued.
Maybe. Watch out.
So it is more than that. Super cool. Do you get any hate for making tofu videos at all?
I have actually been very lucky to have a very supportive community. It's usually the viral videos where it reaches non-followers, where people are like, just eat dairy or just eat beef or whatever. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
the usual.
Yeah, the usual. But and those are very easy to ignore. And once you ignore them, they don't come back. Like it's very easy. So yeah, but otherwise, I've been very, very fortunate to have a community that's very supportive. Like I've been so lucky.
You've built that.
Yes, yeah, I guess. But yeah, it's been very like when I read some of the other people's comments, I'm like, oh my god, this is like I don't think I could deal with this. So yeah.
Why do you think they get that hate and you don't?
I think it's all about reach, right? Like where are your videos reaching?
But you don't get
Who's
to
seeing
decide
it?
that, do you?
No, it's the algorithm. It's who's interacting. It's which cities, which countries it's picking up more in. Like
What's your demographic?
My demographic
Yeah.
is like everyone's in America or the UK.
So not as many people in Dubai, not as
No.
many people in the Middle East, or
No, India's quite big. I think India's like our fourth biggest
yeah.
country, surprisingly.
Do you do a lot of desi
I try.
tofu?
I try because
videos
I
in
mean,
this space?
again, like I want people to who are in the same sort of boat as I was, where like paneer was such a big part of the diet, and you're like, wait, but I don't want to give this up, but I feel like I want to be vegan.
Yeah.
So I share all those recipes, and those recipes do really well. It's I just know if I post it, it's viral. Like I know in a couple of hours it's gonna have 100,000 views.
Give me your top 5 desi tofu recipes.
My first ever viral recipe was a tofu recipe, and it was the McSpicy tofu burger. So I really like the McSpicy paneer burger
Okay.
that you get in Indian
Yeah.
McDonald's, and I made a version of it with tofu.
So spicy tofu burger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I made like a
Sounds
sauce for
delicious.
it and everything, and that was my first viral video.
What
and
are
it
we
wasn't
talking
even-
about in terms of reach?
It wasn't even that crazy, but at that point I hadn't seen numbers like that.
Yeah.
Up until April last year, I had 4,000 followers. Like I was not doing amazing numbers.
But that's a jump from having 40 friends following you for a brunch account.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been doing it for 3 years, right? So it was like for 3 years I was stuck at that number.
Yeah.
And then that video kind of picked up, and then that started pushing all the other videos, and then that kind of renewed this flame in me, and I was like, all right, people are watching. All that work we're putting into this is working. Let's go hard now.
How did you shift your content strategy after that?
I don't think I tried to change too much. I just really wanted to make sure that we were consistent. That was really important. Putting videos out consistently, putting great videos out consistently. And for me, it was very much, I don't want to post videos that other people are already posting.
Like what?
I mean, in the vegan space, how many people have posted a hummus recipe? It's done. People know how to do it. It's helpful. And there is a space for that. But I didn't want to be another hummus recipe, for example. And there's a lot of recipes that you just see a lot in the vegan space, right?
And
so
I hate
for
to
me
say
it
it,
was-
but most of them are bland. Most of them somehow amplify this notion that veganism is boring or bland.
Exactly.
Or needs sacrifices. You need to, eat bland salads, and it's really not that.
Exactly. My biggest thing was I wanted to reach non-vegan people, and the only way I could do that is if I showed vegan food in a way that it hadn't been seen. And I didn't revolutionize vegan food on my account, but I definitely tried to veganize a lot of things that I would watch on my feed and I'd be like, that looks interesting. I would love to try that, but it's not vegan. So I'd be like, all right, cool, I'll make it.
Okay.
And so a lot of it was I would watch what non-vegan creators were posting and what people were responding to, and what I was like tempted to be like, I really want to know what that tastes like. So that's...
So you did that for yourself, essentially. If you wanted to
Exactly.
eat something
Oh.
and you knew that wasn't vegan, you just take that on as a challenge. You'd be
People
like,
are
"Hey, let
always
me-"
like, how do you decide what to film? And you know, and I'm like, I just wake up and what I feel like eating on that day
Yeah.
is what we end up filming. Like, it's just it's not that deep, and it's always
Win-win.
just, exactly.
Where are you at with your content creation journey right now?
Posting daily content now. Difficult, a lot of work, and a lot of traffic, like on all the platforms. So there is a lot of noise, and you have to
Maneuver that.
But again, because I understand, and this goes back to our conversation about like scarcity, there's enough for everyone.
Yeah.
Like if some other creators' videos do better than mine, that doesn't mean that mine will always not do well, you know? Or
I don't even think it's that. I think if your why is bigger than a video, you know,
Yeah.
you're doing this for a mission, for a reason, for
yeah.
impact.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters whether your video does better than mine. It just
Yeah.
matters that we reach as many people as possible.
Exactly. But this is what people don't seem to realize, is that everyone can reach people. How many people do you know that have 1 million followers that you've never heard of?
Everyone
like
these
so
days.
many people. Yeah. So that means that there's enough for everyone.
Yeah.
There's no scarcity. We can all be very successful. We can all make it.
And it's easier and faster for us to do it together.
Exactly. And we need to support each other, right? Like
Yeah.
all through Veganuary, you'll see amazing camaraderie. You'll see all the vegan creators just commenting on each other's vegan posts and recipes and things like that. And you will see community. And through the year, actually, like even if you go through my comments, it's always other vegan creators being supportive. If you go through theirs, it's me and other, you know, like we're all a very supportive community, because we know that the only way we can all be successful is if we're all working towards the same goal.
Yeah.
And there's enough for all of us.
Yeah. It's
No
fighting the
one's
same
going to be
fight.
no one's going to be left behind.
Yeah. What's your biggest recommendation for someone who's trying to eat less paneer, but can't let go of the taste, can't let go of the texture, can't let go of the emotional connection that they have with paneer as well?
Keep an open mind. I think that's the first thing. If someone would have told me, here, eat this tofu instead of paneer because it tastes like paneer, before I went vegan, I would have been like, I can eat paneer though, so I'm good. Keep an open mind. Don't be like me. And like learn. There's so many creators now. Everyone's sharing so many recipes. I'm not the only one sharing tofu recipes. Every vegan creator I know has a tofu series, and they're all incredible.
Yeah.
Go watch them and learn and try to experiment. I'm sure you will find flavor. Like I think going vegan has introduced me to flavors that I never had before.
Like what?
I mean, I've eaten the mock version of every meat ever. You know, these are meats that I wouldn't have ever eaten while I was vegetarian. But for me, it was important to understand that what is it that non-vegan people miss, and how can I emulate that in my food?
What do you think non-vegans miss the most when they transition?
Texture.
The texture?
I think because a lot meat is texture. Meat doesn't have a lot of flavor. Like what flavor does chicken have? Nothing. You flavor it with plants, right? So you can flavor the same thing with anything else. It is the texture of chicken that people seem to like more than anything else. And if you can get the texture, the flavor is easy. So yeah, I mean, I remember we had this place in Australia. It was a vegan burger place. It's called Lord of the Fries.
Lord of the Fries.
Yeah.
I've
Because it's in New Zealand as well. Yeah. That place, incredible, fully vegan. I didn't even know it was fully vegan. I remember ordering once or twice because I knew one burger was vegetarian, and then I wanted to order something else. I was like, "Hey, is that vegetarian?" They're like, "This whole place is vegan." I was like, "What?"
But they never marketed as vegan.
It doesn't say that anywhere.
Okay.
Not that I know.
Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
I think
Because
it's a
I know
great
a lot
thing.
of people shy away from the word vegan.
Yeah, but I think if you're trying to appeal to non-vegans,
You have
It's
to
amazing.
stop using the word vegan.
you don't have to. It helps.
Okay.
If you're gonna build a Lord of the Fries that's gonna be like a McDonald's or a KFC competitor in a fast food space, then I think it helps to not have that, because then that
So
is
you're just competing based on just flavor,
exactly.
taste.
And if you win like that, then you've
Yeah.
won, not because you're the best vegan
Yeah. Just
food place.
merit.
You're just the best place.
Yeah.
You know, so Yeah, I think in Melbourne, like the best pizza place happens to be a vegan one.
I love that.
It's amazing. Yeah. So that place does vegan chicken nuggets, and my friends that ate meat would sometimes order that one because they're like, this tastes amazing. And I remember trying the vegan chicken nugget for the first time, and my friends were like, this tastes just like the real thing. And I ate it, and I was like, this is what I was being made fun of. This is what you all told me that I was missing out on in my life. That's it. Like, this is it, you know?
It's very underwhelming.
Yeah, it was very much like, I thought this was like the god of all food. Like this was everything. Everyone I ever met as a kid was like, I love chicken nuggets. I love chicken nuggets. Yeah. And then I ate it and I was like,
so it didn't really live up to the hype for you. It was
I mean, I understood the appeal for sure, but I was also like,
that's it.
This wasn't worth all the years of bullying.
I've had veggies that taste better.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then once I know what it tastes like, what it feels like, then I start experimenting with what I already know. And yeah.
Okay. So that's the biggest thing for anyone who's so stuck on paneer, whether it's about nutrition or taste or flavor or texture, it would be to have an open mind.
Yeah. Not just paneer, just any protein that isn't
coming from an animal.
Yeah, exactly. All those proteins, I can assure you can find a way to get those flavors and textures without risking the processed side of things. Like, you can get it. Indians have been eating soy for years.
Yeah.
Right? Like I grew up eating soy keema before I even knew that was like vegan. You know?
That's true.
So we've been eating this stuff. Like, we've been eating these foods.
Yeah.
It's part of our diet. It's not foreign to us. So it exists.
Why is the word vegan foreign to our culture? Because you said the principles are not. We've been eating vegan food without the word vegan. How do you draw that connection to our history, to our lifestyle and culture?
I think it's very interesting how much colonization has changed our food.
Why do you say that?
Because we weren't as dependent on dairy and meat pre-colonization, and most countries are like that. I mean, obviously there were a lot of communities within each country, because like these countries are massive, right? A lot of communities still ate it, but there wasn't this industrialized demand for like meat in every meal. Even growing up, like I could think about being at school and my friends would come to me and say, oh, tonight mom's made chicken, as if that's a big deal.
It was a luxury.
It was a luxury, right? And now it's like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can't imagine a plate without meat in it.
Same thing with paneer. I don't remember eating as much growing up, but
Barely.
Over time, it just the frequency of how much paneer was being cooked, how often paneer was being cooked, just changed.
Exactly. I remember going to Mexico and I was so pleasantly surprised by how vegan friendly, like, even the street vendors were. I was eating tacos on the street and like fully vegan taquerias, and you were like, what? And they tell you stories about how pre-colonization they mostly ate plants. Like, they didn't.
That was the way of life.
Yeah, so they knew they were using hibiscus as meat alternatives before.
Hibiscus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hibiscus.
I've heard of jackfruit. I've heard of
but
jackfruit being used.
This thing is like anything, like unlike anything you've eaten. Like, if you like mushrooms, you're gonna love the texture of this.
Okay, gotta try that.
Yeah, we'll go to Mexico.
All right, chef. wherever you take us.
Yeah.
To the studio, to your cooking studio, right?
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Perfect. So yeah, like a lot of cultures didn't. I mean, even the easiest food to order when you're as a vegan in India is like Chinese food. Yeah. Because it doesn't have dairy.
I love it.
If it's vegetarian, it doesn't have dairy, right?
That's true.
So a lot of Asia just wasn't dependent on dairy. But it's only the last couple of years where this demand's increased, and it's tied itself into our culture, into every religion, into every festival, everything. Like, even if I go to Diwali now, people are like, are you going to eat the prasad? And I'd eat the like nuts, or, you know, all the dried fruits or whatever. That's it. But I'm not going to eat the... So yeah. I've tried to like look into how much meat and dairy we were eating before. It's really tough to say. But I know that we weren't eating this much. And we can say that even in our lifetimes, like we really said, that when we were growing up, it wasn't as common in our diets. And now it's the standard diet.
Definitely. People eat it every day, like twice a day.
Yeah, exactly. So that change we've seen in our lifetime. So we can imagine that over multiple generations, that would have increased. I mean, a lot of the environmental concerns that we have now with like single-use plastic and things like that also stem from the Industrial Revolution that happened in the UK, and then all the colonies then became accustomed to that,
adopted those
adopted all those
as well.
all those industries and all that. So the colonialism has also contributed to a lot of environmental concerns that we have now.
I've never thought about it that way, because
everything's connected.
Yeah, historically I've always said this, that sustainability is in our bloods. It's always been a way of life way before this became a buzzword, right?
Yeah.
Grandmothers used to take tote bags everywhere.
Exactly.
People always told us not to waste food. So it's always been in our culture in some way. Just upcycling, recycling, sustainability. There's just brand new words that we've snapped on.
I mean, if we see a lot of what modern environmentalism is literally what our grandmothers did when they were growing up. And that wasn't environmentalism. That was just a way of life. That was just a lifestyle. You know, we see a lot of like people carrying dabbas around. I've seen, like, when I was first looking into the zero waste movement, I would watch like a bunch of YouTubers who would talk about it. And they would be like, oh, I bought this like steel container to carry my food around. This is just a dabba.
Yeah.
It's just like a tiffin,
Yeah.
you know, and it's selling for like $100.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's become trendy.
Yeah. And so a lot of, I mean, we tie so much of like environmentalism into capitalism as well, where we're like, hey, if you want to be environmental, you have to go and buy these things. And that's what I noticed in that zero waste space a lot. It was like, it was so aesthetic. It was like everything goes in amazing jars, pretty jars, and everything goes in like, you have to have amazing bags and this tote bag collection, things like that. I actually read this somewhere. It was like we all think tote bags are very sustainable, right? So we all keep buying so many tote bags. We keep being given so much. Yeah. But to
offset.
Yeah, to offset a single tote bag, we had to use it like 40,000 times.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, but you know, just because it's reusable,
we
think we need to buy into it and get more of that to be sustainable instead of just using what we have.
Yeah, exactly. I also don't hate plastic. I know like a lot of environmentalists don't like plastic. I think plastic is a great invention. I think it's one of the best inventions of that generation.
You think so?
I think so, because I mean, a lot of, like, let's say in the space of medicine, it is so important to have things that are like sanitized and in plastic, things like that. I think the issue has never been plastic itself, but it's the disposal of plastic. And because we never gave that responsibility to the people who produce plastic, they never cared about it. Right? So if we could somehow put it back on them, they'd find a way to innovate, make money out of it, and fix that problem. But because we never hold them accountable for all that production, we keep producing more and more and more and more, and we don't know how to get rid of it.
Tell me why people hate tofu so much. Why is there a preconceived notion and this misplaced bias about tofu?
I think most people would have had tofu not prepared the right way, or they would have eaten it for the first time in someone's house and they didn't prepare it the right way. And yeah, I feel like once you eat it the right way, once you eat it at the right place, it could change your life.
What is the right way and what is the right place?
I'd just go to a Chinese restaurant, or just go to, like, Buddhist monks have been eating tofu for thousands of years before veganism was cool.
Yeah.
Right? They were eating seitan, they were eating all these things that are now modern veganism, right? But they created all these recipes. All these recipes came from that side of Asia. Yeah. So like they have mastered it. We can say like, oh, I'm the Tofu King or whatever, but I'm really like,
are you giving the title away?
I'm just a tofu pauper in front of me.
Look at that, the tofu dictator has admitted
I
defeat.
give up. Yeah, I surrender. But yeah, I think experiment with it. People don't like it because you have to flavor it, right? Like you can't eat bland boiled chicken and be like, wow, it doesn't taste good at all. So why would you expect the same from tofu? Yeah. Add some plants to it, add some spices, cook it in different ways, freeze it, boil it, blend it, whatever.
Make it sexy.
Make it sexy. Let's make tofu sexy in 2024.
Love that. That's the affirmation for the year. Tell me 3 dishes and 3 ways that you've made tofu sexy.
I think I love blending tofu, adding it to plain flour, making doughs out of it. Those doughs can be used for pasta, for dumplings, for rotis, whatever. Freezing tofu makes it very meaty.
Okay.
And when you freeze it overnight, you pull it out, the crystals, the water crystals expand. So it makes like air bubbles in there. And then once they defrost, they'll melt out. You can press all that water out. So then that tofu that's usually watery soft becomes really thready, like very much like you could rip it apart like chicken.
Wow. Scientist, like I told you.
And then and then you can just like deep fry it, and it's like fried chicken or whatever. Like it's amazing. I make shawarma like that. I make vegan shawarma from tofu with frozen tofu.
Really? And that's
and I've fed it to my non-vegan friends, and they all, I don't think they would say it tastes exactly like shawarma, but they were like, if I could eat this, I would eat this.
That's an easy swap.
Yeah, exactly. And then boiling tofu to make it like paneer, and then throw it in palak tofu and shahi tofu and tofu butter masala, all that.
If you were to personify tofu, and if tofu had a standoff with paneer, what do you think tofu would tell paneer?
I mean, tofu just does everything that paneer does, but better. So, and we spoke about the numbers, so we know that there's like science to back it, nutrition to back it. So yeah, I mean, paneer may have had my heart first, but tofu's for life.
Tofu took it away.
Tofu took it away.
Love that. Thank you so much, Priyansh.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the conversations wherever it went. Everywhere it went.
But I do want to know how people can find you, support you, amplify your content, make it go viral.
Yep. So I'm on Instagram, TikTok as @prunchme. I'm also
not
on
pinch me, but prunch me.
Prunch me. Yeah, it's also like
punch me
or prunch. You know, I don't know. Is it a verb? I don't know. We're still figuring it out.
Prunch could be a verb.
I mean, prunch was taken on Instagram, so we had to use prunch me. So I'm @prunchme on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and I think that's pretty much it. I think that's everywhere I am.
Keep making tofu sexy in 2024 and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thank you.